What's good, my beautiful kings and queens? This is Wini, your favorite British locked YouTuber, and I'm back with what I now call a lock living video. So for those of you that don't understand what I mean by that, you may have noticed that on my channel I've made a few changes. So I've kind of set up various playlists, renamed playlists and stuff. So now when I make videos, it's kind of easier for you to have an idea of what each video is about, apart from the obvious title that is. But anyway, from now on going forward, any lock video that I will make, I will be putting it under the lock living playlist. So let's get straight into today's video. I'm gonna put it bluntly, when it comes to locks, I personally believe that it is impossible to 100% avoid lint. So I'm gonna put that out there, period. In this video, I'm not trying to say that these tips are ways for you to 100% avoid getting lint in your hair, but what I am trying to say is these tips will help you get less of it in your locks. Right, so my first tip I'm gonna give you, which is kind of obvious, but I do still feel that a lot of people with locks don't do this anyway, is I would advise for you to sleep with a silk or a satin headscarf at night. I think it's very important because when you're sleeping, you're moving around a lot. You know, maybe your room may be a little dusty and you may be unaware, but it's very possible for things to get trapped in your hair at night if your locks are not being covered up while you sleep. For me, I personally believe that the only way that it would be acceptable for you to go to bed without a silk or satin headscarf or lock bonnet or whatever it is that you want to call it would be if your sheets, like your pillow covers, whatever it is that you use at night, is also silk or satin. But even then I would advise to still have your locks covered before you sleep. The second tip that I would give is actually in two parts, so let's call the first point of the second tip 2A. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but I would say have your locks wrapped up at all times. You know, there are some people that you see with locks and you've probably never even actually seen their locks because they always have it wrapped up, and that could be wrapped up in a beautiful African head wrap or just any suitable head wrap. They have it tied up all the time, and when you have it that way, you basically avoid catching on to dust and lint and whatever could be around you in the environment when you're out and about. My second point in regards to point 2 could just be when you are aware that you're going to be in possibly a dusty area or a place that you know is full of rubbish than you normally are, have it wrapped up. Protect your locks, and that way fluff, lint, dust, whatever it is that you want to call it, will not get caught up in your locks. Why? Because you would have already had it wrapped up. And in regards to wrapping up your locks, you guys are very much aware I rarely have my locks wrapped up, but when I do, I tend to basically tie my locks up. Then I would have, or I would use something that I go to bed with, for example this. I would then cover it with this, and then I would use my head wrap. The reason for that is because sometimes my head wraps are made from material which lint from that material could actually pass onto my locks. So obviously because I don't want that, I use extra precaution and I do it the way that I have just described. Point number 3. This point actually inspired me to make this video because I was so pissed the morning that I spotted this. Right, so this is a jacket here that I bought a couple of months ago. Hopefully my camera captures it well. Can you guys see that basically all the, you know, fur or the fake fur has transferred over to the collar of this jacket? And obviously that also means that all this here, and you guys know my locks are very long, so obviously when I've got my locks out, or even when I've got it in a ponytail like it is right now, my locks are brushing against all of that, and in turn what happens? All of that material gets caught in my locks. And you know what, it was the other day when I was getting ready for work and I grabbed the coat and I looked at it, and it was literally like fur all over the collar line. And then I looked at my actual locks and I could see that all the fur was also all over my hair. So basically the third point is Avoid certain materials. Avoid lint infested materials. After clocking that on my jacket, I have now decided that going forward I will no longer wear such jackets. What I am going to do going forward is I am going to go for jackets that are microfiber material, which basically means that material that will not transfer over onto my skin, onto my hair most importantly, and will not just become all bitsy and whatnot. Now I've done brief research, these things do exist, or you can just simply get, you know, those jackets that are a bit rubbery. Let me see if I can find something. Generally speaking, around the winter time I do have a thing for jackets that have, like, you know, fake fur on it. I don't know why, but what I mean is kind of jackets with this kind of material. I think rubbery may not be the word, I don't know what material it is, but you guys know what I mean. But going forward I'm really going to go out of my way to get microfiber stuff, especially winter wear. So for example, coats, hats, scarves, jumpers. During the winter season, what us lock wearers may tend to forget is a lot of these things that we are wearing, whether it's the scarf that we're using to wrap around the head, whether it's the hat that we're wearing, whether it's the fluffy jumper that looks cute and stuff, all of that crap is transferring into our locks. And if you don't spot that earlier on, it gets very difficult to take out. And sometimes if you get too carried away, you can end up damaging your locks because you're really trying to go in taking it all out. So you know what they say, prevention is better than cure. Now that I've really noticed this and been more kind of aware and mindful of these things, going forward I'm just going to make sure that I avoid these things, and you should too. For those of you that may not be interested in, you know, always keeping your hair wrapped up and stuff like that, be very mindful when you are out and about. So for example, public transport. What I did notice the other day with my long locks is sometimes when I wear it out and I'm sitting on a bus or I'm sitting on the train, my locks are basically in contact with the material that has been used on the buses and the trains, and obviously the material used is transferable and the lint from that gets into my locks. So if you don't want to wear head wraps and stuff all the time, when you're sitting back on these seats, and for example if your hair is out or maybe your hair's in a ponytail like mine, literally just flick your locks forward so that material will not get caught into your locks. My fifth and final point is this. There's kind of two parts to it. Firstly, be mindful of your own hands. What I mean by that is, for example, today I was moving around some boxes and stuff, and when you're moving boxes and whatnot, a lot of the material from the box gets caught up on your hands, yeah, and people may not notice this. So you've got this material, this dust, cardboard thingy, whatever it is, all over your hands, and then you're then touching your locks. What's gonna happen, you already know, yeah? So be very mindful. After you're doing certain things, wash your hands before you decide to touch your locks for whatever reason. Second part to my last point also is, don't allow randoms to touch your hair. Like, I've been big on this way before I had locks. I don't like random people touching my hair. And if you are gonna touch my hair, at least have the decency to politely ask me, so that I have the option on whether I'm cool with you touching my hair or I'm not. Reason being for that is, people are dirty. People do not have the same hygiene levels that you do. You don't know where that person's hands has been. You know, their hands could have been God knows where, and they're now touching up on your locks. And anything can be getting caught up in your locks. Be very mindful of where your hands have been before you touch your locks, and of other people. And also you need to keep in mind that people touching your hair anyway, like, you don't know the reasoning, you don't know the motive behind it. Me, I'm a little bit wary about these things, because you don't know what people's intentions are. Why are you touching my locks? I don't come and approach you and touch your hair, do I? These are all things that you should keep in mind. So like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm not saying that these tips are going to help you fully avoid getting lint, but it's going to basically reduce the chances of the lint being very excessive. Sometimes, you know, I have previously seen other videos on this topic and I see people saying certain things that me personally, you know, I think is kind of crazy. Like, for example, brushing your locks to get things out. I've seen somebody say to basically use a lint roller, and you know what, I guess that's not crazy to a degree, but at this present moment in my lock journey, I'm just very mindful of things that I do to my locks, and I don't really think that it is a good idea for me to be using a lint roller on my locks. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea for me to be brushing my locks, because I feel like I would then be messing up my lock pattern. I don't know, each to their own. If that's what works for someone else, good for them, but I don't want to put my locks through all of that. I think the tips that I've given are pretty basic, but they are helpful, and it is something that we can all do, and the tips I've given you is basically not gonna damage your locks in any way. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do give a thumbs up if you did, and until my next video, you be good. See ya.